Guys, we have finally got episodes 8 and 9 of Daredevil Born Again. The season has ended, and I liked it a lot. This video will contain spoilers, so fair warning ahead. Before I get started, please like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. If you don't like it, please comment down below what I can do better. Without further ado,
let's do this!
Episode 8 was by far the best of the season. It did a very nice job at building the tension throughout the dance scene, and I love the way that they used the color blue to show Bullseye's perspective throughout this episode. I love Matt's conversation with Bullseye in prison, and Bullseye's escape was so well done. The way that he just used his tooth to shoot a guard in the eye was absolutely brutal, and I love it so much. And Charlie's delivery on some of the lines in this scene are ridiculously good.
Oh, sweetheart, what do you want me to do? You want me to get you out? You want me to file an appeal?
I love that Bullseye was able to goad Matt into just attacking him. This episode does a fabulous job at just showing how unhinged Matt has become throughout this season. He isn't capable of making any sense to his girlfriend, and his emotional distance, along with the attack from Muse, causes her to view Daredevil as a criminal just like Muse, which kind of pushes Matt further and further into what he is doing. I like how they made Matt figure out that Foggy's murder was ordered by someone just by having Josie point out that Foggy was drinking their celebration drink before he had even won his case. The details were put in the season very nicely, and it's not something that you pick up on immediately. I do feel that the reveal was incredibly obvious though. Oh gee, who would have thought? The one crime boss that's around that is married to your arch nemesis. You don't think that maybe she is the prime suspect in your best friend's murder, even though you were personally responsible for locking her husband up twice. And I feel that the season overall did a very poor job at building up this mystery, but that was in no way this episode's fault. I thought that they did a really good job at showing Kingpin's look throughout the season, and I really like how it culminated in this episode. I like that they made him gradually gain weight throughout the season to kind of show how he's gradually becoming more and more Kingpin, and the cherry on top is that he's finally back in his white suit. Throughout the entire season, he's been in gray, and then in this episode, he's not even trying to hide it anymore. He is the Kingpin. Another thing I really like about this episode was the way they framed Kingpin. They would often shoot him from a lower camera angle, so he always appears massive compared to other characters in the show. I thought it was a very obvious move, but I still liked that Vanessa was the one to kill Adam. I thought it was the perfect nail in the coffin to mend her relationship with Wilson, and that was one of the highlights of the original series was their relationship. I also thought the way that Bullseye foreshadowed how Matt would save Kingpin was a very nice detail. I didn't see it coming at first, and while it's not crucial to the quality of the episode, it was a nice thing to notice on rewatch. I am also curious as to whether or not Matt intentionally helped Bullseye escape. I'm leaning more on the side that he didn't because Bullseye killed quite a few people to escape, but Matt has grown into a pretty dark spot this season, and at the time he did need Bullseye to be alive so he could discover who ordered the hit on Foggy, but at the same time, surely Matt heard Bullseye's tooth get cracked badly or get knocked loose. I am grateful that this episode was longer than 50 minutes. These episodes have had the time to breathe. They don't feel rushed, but I still wanted them to be longer. I don't think a single episode from the original series went below 45 minutes, and most of them didn't go lower than 50. Now, episode 9 was definitely the second best episode of the season. Kingpin basically enacts martial law and then sends his anti-vigilante task force to go and kill anyone who stands against him. And he has them do it under the guise that they're stopping vigilantes. And I thought it was the right move to have Kingpin essentially invoke martial law immediately after Bullseye fails to assassinate him. It also goes to show just how much control Wilson has gained over the course of the season. And I was pleasantly surprised that Kingpin gave absolutely zero fucks that Matt saved his life. He literally just says, yeah, he saved me, which will just go to make his heroic death all the more tragic. Matt does get away pretty easily though, and his shoulder, even though it should just be gone, he got shot by a fucking sniper at pretty close range, but it just gets treated as a nasty flesh wound, which I don't mind. It's just a nitpick. I think it's a funny little detail though. And we finally get to see Punisher in all his brutal glory. As Matt returns to his apartment, he finds none other than Frank Castle bitching about not being able to make a cup of coffee in the blackout, and he just explains that he's there because he got a phone call to keep Matt alive. Now, it's pretty obvious that Karen was the one who called him. She called him just to keep Matt safe until she got back, and this season has done a very poor job with its supporting characters. The only two that had any quality were Daniel and White Tiger, and one of them died after 2 episodes of being in the show. So Karen being back massively improved the episode. Her and Matt's chemistry is incredible, and the fact that the previous showrunners killed both her and Foggy off boggles my mind. Back on track, Matt and Frank duke it out with the anti-vigilante task force in Matt's apartment. And at first, I thought it was weird how they had Punisher in slow motion throughout this fight while Daredevil was still at normal speed. But after a quick rewatch and hearing the directors talk about it, I really like this choice. They did an excellent job at showing how different Matt and Frank's fighting styles are, and I love how Matt and Frank still don't really get along. Matt is telling Frank to stop killing the cops, but Matt is too busy with his own problems to do anything, and Frank doesn't give any fucks about the cops, since his one goal is to keep Matt alive for Karen. And naturally, he does it in the best way he knows how. I was a little shocked that Cole North ended up being the cop who killed Hector. He, out of every cop on the task force, seemed like he was the most reasonable, and based off his comic book character, I would have thought that he was going to be more hesitant on the task force. All that aside, I like the way that Matt and Frank argue over whether or not he should live or die. Matt has struggled quite a few times this season with his rage, and seeing him let go of it for once, for reasons that we'll eventually find out later in the episode, was very nice. And then Frank being Frank, in response to this, kills another defenseless cop. And that sets Matt off, but this feud is short-lived since a grenade gets tossed in and Matt's whole apartment's about to explode, so Matt and Frank barely escape out the window. Then we finally, after 6 painful episodes and 1 great episode, we have Karen's return. And her conversations with Matt and Frank are both great. She's actually in over half of the episode and plays a crucial role in it, so I was very pleased with her screen time in this season, all things considered. I really wish we had her throughout this season's entirety, but I understand why she couldn't be there, so this works out for me. I really like how Karen ends up being the one who fully puts Matt back together after this entire season. She manages to finally get it out of Matt why he went into himself and what he was going through after Foggy died. And I love how she just tells him that she doesn't care and that she'll be right there for him throughout this entire thing. It was a great scene, and they have a few great scenes together throughout the episode, but the ending one was my favorite by far, and definitely one of my favorite scenes throughout any of the Daredevil seasons. We also discover that the port Fisk was super interested in all season is a free port, so he can be a crime boss there, and it's outside the entire city and country's jurisdiction. So he's basically legalized crime. I thought this was a great way of explaining why Foggy was killed, since Foggy's client stole from the port in episode 1, and Foggy discovered that the port was free, so the state of New York has no legal grounds to prosecute, which means that his client is going to get off scot-free. But because the Fisks are laundering money through this port, their quote-unquote legal operation was at risk. So Vanessa, without letting Wilson know, had Bullseye released from prison to go kill Foggy before he could bring this information to light, and then their entire operation gets exposed. Now, we also get one of the most brutal scenes I've ever seen in a show, and Wilson finally tired of the commissioner's shit after the commissioner has decided to go over Wilson's head, and he just talks to it to the wrong person. Wilson brings the commissioner to basically a kill site and just crushes his head open. And they show the whole thing. I was like half expecting them to cut away or show make a cracking sound and blood splatter, but no. You see his jaw get ripped off and his skull pushed in, and it was just a great scene. And Sheila, of all people, the one person who is clearly opposed to what Fisk is doing, turns him over. And I kind of wish we saw more of her to kind of show that she was becoming more and more scared of Fisk. But all in all, I thought it was a very good way of handling it, of showing just like how Fisk just terrifies a normal person who has no control over him, and they just bow to him in fear. Now, we do also get to see Punisher go to the port just to kill as many cops as he can, and surprise, surprise, he ends up getting overwhelmed and tied down, but they don't kill him because they do what they do because they admire how Frank deals out justice. Frank naturally calls them crazy lunatics because Frank hates these guys. Frank does this because he lost his entire family, and that is what the skull symbolizes to him. And the cops have lives and are just abusing their power, and Punisher absolutely despises this. So he tells them they can fuck right off, so they beat the absolute shit out of him, and then go and lock him up in Kingpin's internment camp. Then the season comes to an end, with Karen convincing Matt not to go and face Kingpin and his police force immediately, in the fear that he'll either die or end up killing someone for real. So then Matt decides that instead, he's going to raise an army to take down Kingpin. And then Fisk ends off with having Punisher, Swordsman, and a few other characters imprisoned in his port. And then he has dinner with Vanessa in front of their White Rabbit painting. We then get a post-credit scene where Frank easily escapes by convincing a fanboy to shake his hand. He destroys this poor bastard's arm, and then this will presumably lead into the Punisher special. These are, without a doubt, the two best episodes of the season, and these two episodes are absolutely on par with the original show. For me, episode 8 gets a 9.5 out of 10, and episode 9 gets a 9 out of 10. I highly recommend you go watch the show, and if you'd like to hear my thoughts on the season as a whole, you can stay tuned for this weekend, and I'll have a video for that. Guys, if you've made it to the end of the video, I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, it would mean the world to me if you liked and subscribed. If you have any critiques of the video, once again, please be sure to comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.